Okay, y'all, let's make some pizza dough. The recipe that I'm sharing here, whether it's on the screen or in the description, is a 67% hydration dough. That's the first thing that we need to talk about. Basically, how do you determine a pizza dough hydration level? You look at the total amount of flour in the recipe to the total amount of water. In this recipe, I'm using 1,000 grams by weight of flour, which means that at 67%, I have 670 grams by weight of water. You can experiment with different hydration levels. For a New York style, generally you're in that 55 to 65 percentage. I've personally been experimenting between 62 and 70, and 67 is the sweet spot for the type of pizza that I like to cook, which is kind of like a New York style, but a little bit puffier of a crust. I cook at a lower temperature than Neapolitan, around 700 to 800 degrees, it kind of varies. And I'm at a 5 to 7 minute cook time, depending on my temperature fluctuations, because I'm going for more of a crispier crust without any flop. Okay, in the last video, we made the Poolish, and you can see here that all of the bubbles, it means that it is alive and well. And what's awesome about sitting out for about 18 to 20 hours at room temperature, it's bread, yeasty, a touch of alcohol, fermentation, like there's a bunch of good funk going on. Now it's not as funky as a sourdough because this is a yeast-based starter that's less than a day old. But with all of this activity in here, it's gonna make our pizza dough rise quickly, stretch quickly, develop a good gluten structure. It's awesome. A couple things you need: a big bowl, a spatula, a bench scraper, something to measure out your flour or other ingredients with, and the most important thing would be a gram scale. You don't make dough recipes by cups and teaspoons, you do it all by weight. In the sense of ingredients, we're going to use some Boroux filtered water, high gluten flour, kosher salt, and that's it. From there, we're going to mix in our Poolish. Now let's do some basic math. This total recipe has 1,000 grams of flour and 670 grams of water. My Poolish has 200 grams of flour and 200 grams of water. This is a 100% hydration. So that means that I now have to measure out the difference, which would be 800 grams of flour and 470 grams of filtered water. I mentioned consistency is key when it comes to making pizza at home. You don't want to change a bunch of things. I get big bags of flour that I can use until I'm ready to switch over to something else. I've been using this for almost a year. I love it. It's great, high gluten flour. I use the same kosher salt, and I move around a lot. Hard to keep tap water the same, and if you can smell your tap water, you're gonna taste it eventually, and it just, I don't know, I don't like it. So I use the Boroux filtered water for all of my pizza, and Boroux was kind enough to send me this unit, upgrading me from the old Berkey, where I can actually get filters now, which is awesome, and they are sponsoring this video. Okay, let's actually dive in. I'm gonna explain things in detail so you actually learn. You're not seeing a 2-second reel that's gonna be like, this is how you make pizza dough, read the description. No, the recipe of pizza dough is kind of irrelevant. It's the process of what you do with that recipe, and it's hard to just read that. You need to actually see it. So let's dive in. The first thing that we're going to do is add 470 grams by weight of the Boroux filtered water. Just so you know, you could legit like pour pond water in this and it's gonna come out just as good. So the different places I've lived since I started getting into pizza, I now can basically have that consistency regardless of whether it's well water like where I'm at now, city water, which can vary from place to place, etc. I'm a bit of a nomad. Here we go. 470 grams. 471.5, that'll do. Hydrate. Now all I'm going to do is mix the Poolish around with the water until the water is really cloudy. I'm not looking to like homogenize this or dissolve it. I'm just trying to disperse some of that activity into the water and loosen up the Polish so that when I do mix in my flour, I don't get this big soggy chunk of Polish that's just kind of ooey and gooey and stuck in the center. So as you can see, I'm just lightly breaking this up. And as you can see, it's already gone from clear filtered water to now looking like I've got skim or 1% milk mixed in with the Polish. And compared to what it was before with just a big chunk, you can see it's broken up and it's going to be a lot easier to mix. I forgot to mention the colander. It's not 100% necessary, but it's a good thing to do, which is sifting your flour so that you can break up any chunks in there and you'll have a smoother dough consistency once you start working it. We need 1,000 grams minus the 200 that's already in there, so 800 grams of high gluten flour. If you are going to sift your flour, I recommend you do it right before you make your dough. Don't sift it, portion it out, and have it ready for the next day. Do it right before. Next up, we're going to measure out 60 grams of kosher salt. Listen, I've had pizza dough that, as the pizza itself, tastes awesome, but the dough is under-seasoned without the sauce and the topping. So I like my dough to taste good plain, so I do a little bit more salt than most recipes called for. To be honest with you, the recipe that was shared with me only had 20 grams of salt. I upped it to 40 and I still didn't think it was that great. So now I'm up to 60. And then all I'm gonna do is just kind of mix this around. One thing that's important to keep in mind whenever you're baking is you're better off mixing all of your dry ingredients and then mixing all of your wet ingredients and then combining them together. That way you have a better chance of having a properly homogenized dough, especially if you're doing things by hand. Now I've done this exact recipe with a KitchenAid stand mixer, but to be honest with you, I found that the dough hook doesn't actually do much. If you look at a traditional pizza mixer, there's an arm going down that the dough hook slaps the pizza against, and that creates that stretching which develops the gluten. So I've had much better results just doing this by hand. Now we're going to add our water mixed with the Polish. And with your rubber spatula, you're going to bring this together so you can't see any separation of water and flour, but you're not going to start kneading this quite yet. Instead, we're just going to bring this together lightly so that it is combined and not separated, and then we're going to let it rest and let the water and the Polish hydrate this remaining flour, which takes about 20 to 30 minutes. I've got very hairy hands, so I like to wear gloves so I'm not dropping little bits of hair into my recipe. I mean, I guarantee you've eaten hair in pizza dough, because if you've seen some people making pizza dough, they too are hairy. And this is where I'm going to start kneading this by hand. Notice I'm just pulling in and pushing down. I'm really not trying to knead it per se. I just want to make sure that I'm getting all the remaining bit of water, which you can see is looking pretty good, and just get the little pieces that are stuck to the side of the bowl. What's crazy is the difference from a 67 to a 70% hydration dough. When you see how little 30 grams of water is for this recipe, just by eye, you think, oh, that's not gonna make a big difference. Oh yeah, it does. All right, that's all you're looking for, a lumpy ball of dough that's going to hydrate. By letting it hydrate for 20 to 30 minutes, your kneading process is going to go so much smoother, and you're not going to find chunks of dry flour in your dough, which is a combination of the sifting as well as the time that you let it hydrate. We'll see you in about a half hour. Okay, here we are a half hour later, and we're going to remove the dough from the bowl and begin the kneading process. Kneading is only going to be about 3 to 5 minutes long. You're going to see that this is going to start to smooth out. Look, already just what was that, 3 or 4, it started to smooth out. As you can see, I'm pulling back, pushing forward, folding it over a little bit, pushing forward. And the goal here is to not tear at the dough like that. You want to stretch it as you're kneading it. But really right here, you're just trying to smooth this all out, bring it together, get rid of any type of clumps. I can feel there's a couple in there that will just start to break up. And when I'm done this in about 3 to 5 minutes, I'm going to have somewhat of a lumpy looking dough ball. And then during the stretch and fold process, which is going to take some time, as you'll see, that's when things start to get really smooth and you'll have this beautiful dome of a dough ball ready to rock. Now you see why I have those things up. One, gives a little bit better acoustic in here, yes, with just that little bit, but also covers that nasty intake from the HVAC, which there's another one down there. So that's the one that's open. The more you know. Okay, that's all I'm looking for. About 5 minutes of kneading. Like I said, it looks kind of lumpy, but over the next about 3, maybe 4 stretch and folds, that's where you're gonna see this come together into a really nice smooth dough ball. It's a little cool where I'm filming right now, so I'm gonna put this in a bowl, cover it with some plastic wrap, take it upstairs, let it rest for a half hour, and then I will be back down to show you the stretch and fold. I ended up giving this a half hour, and I even let it sit outside so that it could get a little bit warmer because it's cool in my house. Room temperature, 65 to 75 degrees. A little trick my mother-in-law taught me with dough is whenever it's too cool, she turns the oven light on and puts this inside the oven. That little bit of warmth from the light in there tends to create a warmer environment. So do what you can. There's other times where I use my hotel pan here and I will put a heating pad on top of it, not on the bottom because I don't want this to get hot directly to the dough, but I will put a heating pad over the top as my dough is proofing throughout the day, even during the stretch and fold, even once they're proofing, once they're measured out into the proper size dough. Notice the dough right now. It is lumpy, it's kind of stringy in certain areas, there's a lot of texture to it. And after this first stretch and fold, it's gonna look completely different. I'm gonna pull this out and get it right onto the bench. Do not flour your work area. Have a bench scraper for when you need to clean up, but you don't wanna flour anything because you will then change the hydration of the dough. Now watch, I'm going to just lift this up, stretch, fold. Turn it the other way, stretch, fold. And then I'm just trying to get this into a ball. I'm actually gonna go one more. See how already it's tightened up that much? We'll give it one more. You can see what I'm doing. I'm kind of just cutting in as I'm pulling back at the same time to get into a dough ball. As you can see, the dough is already significantly smoother. It looks like a completely different dough ball. There actually is a form of a ball now. It's much smoother. We're gonna do a stretch and fold at least 2 more times, so 3 to 4 times total. And basically the dough is gonna let you know when it's ready. Little tip to make your life in the kitchen so much easier for various things, let alone pizza, get yourself the commercial sized plastic wrap. Whether it has this type of thing or it's got the serrated edge, this will make life so much easier so you're not dealing with those tiny little things and they're wide enough to get over a bowl Easy breezy. All right, folks, stretch and fold number 2. You can already tell that there is some volume to the dough compared to where we started. And notice there's a couple rough spots here. It's not super smooth, but you'll be able to see here how much this changes after the second stretch and fold. Okay, here we go. Stretch. Notice how long that is. Over a foot. Fold. Stretch. Maybe a couple inches shorter, fold. And then I'm just gonna kind of roll the outside into the bottom and pinch a little bit. And there's already some air pockets from the yeast burping out some CO2, developing the gluten. And yes, look at that. That's awesome. And you can see after that little bit, it's already even smoother. Even with these air bubbles sticking up, the overall texture of the dough is smoother. I'm gonna guess, based off of looking at this, I'm only gonna need to do one more stretch and fold, so I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, got a good amount of volume here. I can tell already that we are only going to have to do one more stretch and fold. And then what's gonna happen is I'm going to put this back in the bowl, cover it up, and I'm gonna let it proof for an additional hour. And after that, we're then going to portion these out into our pizza dough balls. I'm gonna show you how to mold them. And that's gonna be the end of this part of the video. And then at some point when I have all my equipment outside next to my pizza oven, I'm gonna show you how to make the actual pizza dough, shape it, top it, cook it, the whole 9. Good stretch. Fold, stretch, fold, and I can tell that that is going to be good to go. And you can see that this is really, really smooth compared to the first video that we did. Just shape this up a little bit, and you can see some nice bubbly action there. And this is in great shape, nice and smooth. Okay, here we go. Dough's looking great, nice and smooth. I can tell that I probably could do one more stretch and fold, but it's not gonna matter too much because next time you see this, an hour or so from now, it's gonna be probably touching the plastic, expanded quite a bit. We're gonna portion them out, get them stored in the hotel pan, right into the fridge, and that'll be that, folks. Okay, this is the last part of the video. The dough is looking great, nice volume developing. It was just touching the plastic. I've been at this for something like 4 hours, give or take, might be 10 or 15 minutes from you. Yes, this takes time, but I assure you it's so worth it. In between, I've been smoking brisket, cleaning the house, prepping for family to come visit. So it's not like you're just focused on this nonstop. Throughout this whole process, I'm setting alarms to make sure I don't forget and I can keep things moving, and I keep myself busy in between. So now what we're gonna do is portion out the pizza dough. I have some family visiting this weekend, so I'm gonna do a couple different sizes because I like to do a larger, more New York style, and then I'll do some more personal pan for the kids. I like to use these hotel pans to store my dough, but you can use Tupperware, you can use a glass bowl, a regular bowl that's covered. It just really depends on what you have available. What's also great are the little plastic Tupperware containers. Some of those you might want to coat with a little bit of oil. For this, you've noticed I don't have any oil in this recipe. I'm not going to put any oil or flour in the pan. This is going directly in. It's just the way that I found that I like to make my dough. So we are going to get this out. Looking good, looking good. And now we're back to the most important tool, our gram scale and a bench scraper. This and this you just need. So I'm gonna do one that's gonna be about 400 grams, and that's for my larger pizza, which will get me roughly a 16-inch pie. You can stretch it a little bit more, but I like to have a little bit body to the crust. Put that off to the side. Now, I'm gonna do 250, look at that, 244 for the rest of these, so that I've got a couple different styles that I can make and toppings and cook them at different times throughout the night and accommodate people that have different taste. Time to form the dough balls. What I'm doing is spinning and pulling this in and pinching into my palm. You can almost do this with one hand. Well, not really. You need your other hand. I'm not squeezing hard because I don't want to tear the dough. I don't want to stretch it really bad. All I'm doing is spinning, and sometimes I'm pressing in to the center, and then I'm pinching in like this. And I'm going to go around, pick up some speed. When I get a nice circle, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to pinch the bottom, give it a few smacks and a little extra love, and now put that into the pan. So I'm going to move this so you can see the pan and how I space these out. So this is the larger one, and then these are all about 2/3 the size. Look at this hand, the way it's just basically doing this. That's it. That's the motion. And then this one is kind of pushing in a little bit and spinning. But the spinning is coming from my right hand to the left of your screen. Now give this a little pinch. Sometimes you'll feel and hear a little air bubble pop. Now you can see from the top. Nice and slow. The spinning is coming from my right hand. The pinching is coming from my left. From my right too, but it's primarily from the left. If you feel that the dough is sticking to your hand, the gloves are nice for this. Also, the faster you go, the less it will stick. If you take your time and go like this and whatnot, you'll sometimes feel if the dough's a bit sticky, or if your hydration's kind of high, if it's humid outside, then it might stick a bit. So the faster you go, the better it'll be. The other thing you got to remember is this doesn't have to be a perfect circle, because you're going to put this into flour, you're going to start pressing it and stretching it, and everything's going to change. So you just want it to be as uniform as possible. And this one got a little wonky in the beginning, so I went a little faster, pinched a little harder, and already it is in better shape. Last one. I mentioned earlier that at some point when I get all my equipment out next to the pizza oven, I will show you how to stretch the pizza dough, the process for that, and share a few tips on how to add your toppings and your sauce so you don't weigh it down, how to move the pizza on and off of your peel so it doesn't stick, and of course, how to cook the style of dough, at least that I prefer to cook. Okay folks, pizza dough is ready to rock. Now what you want to do is let this proof. You'll see that your dough balls will more than double in size depending on how quickly you're going to use them. If you want to have this for the same day, you're looking at a good 4 to 6 hours before you want to use these, and you want to keep this at room temperature. Now, if you're looking to make pizza the next day or 2 or 3 days from now, put this in the refrigerator, and then about 2 hours before you're ready to start making pizza, pull this out and just let it sit at room temperature. And there you have it. That's my Poolish and pizza dough recipe. Thank you so much to Boroux for making my water taste awesome and my pizza taste awesome. They sponsored this video. Be sure to check them out if you like good tasty water that you literally could put pond water into and come out and it's drinkable. That's that. I'm Chef Brandon. Thanks so much for joining. And for all the pizza lovers out there, I hope you learned something and this will help you level up your pizza game that you're making at home.